Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Samuel Leeds. I'm a property investor and I've become quite successful investing in property. I started with nothing and over 12 years I built up a multi-million-pound property portfolio. I've had a lot of tenants, I've had a lot of issues. I've also had a lot of good things that have happened. So once a week, I think it's really important for me, who's been there, done it, to answer people's questions that may be just getting started or maybe you're just a year or 2 years in. So if you've got property investment questions, this is a great opportunity for you to ask your questions. So how does this work? All you need to do is comment your question in the comment box below. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try my very best to help you in your specific question. Now you might be just getting started, maybe you dream to build up a property portfolio, maybe you're planning on just buying your first property investment this year, or maybe you're gonna set up a business, like a rent-to-rent business or a deal sourcing business. Whatever it is, comment below in form of a question and I'll do my very best to help. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. I don't think there's a YouTube channel in the United Kingdom which talks as much about real estate and property investment as I do on this channel. So if you want more tips and constructive ways of growing your property business, then subscribe and also drop a like on the video. That would be much appreciated as well. So let's see what questions we had from last week's video. As I'm answering these questions, if you have a question or an offshoot to a question, just whack it below and I'll do my best to answer. So we've got, hi Samuel, would you recommend buying an apartment for the purpose of renting it out as serviced accommodation? This is by 1985 Wazza. So yeah, I would recommend doing that. Serviced accommodation is when you rent a property out as a hotel. So you're gonna list it on places like Airbnb, booking.com. If you buy an apartment with the view of renting it out as a mini hotel, basically, that's going to give you much, much more cash flow than if you just rented it out to a normal single person or a young couple. So I would say it's a good idea. The things to bear in mind, number one, make sure that there's no restrictions on the mortgage lender. So the mortgage lender that you're getting needs to know that you're doing that. And also there's no restrictions on the head lease. What I mean by that is when you buy an apartment, usually it's in an apartment block, and there might be a restriction on the apartments that you can't rent it out as short stay let. So just check that. Also, really importantly, is whenever you're buying a property, you need to look at the best case, the likely case, and the worst case. Now, if you're buying an apartment with the view of renting it out as a serviced accommodation unit, you need to say, well, what's the worst case? Well, the worst case is that I can't rent it out. They changed the rules. There's some issue. So the worst case would be I'd need to rent it out as a single let. If that happened, would I still be making money? So what do I mean by that? I mean, you need to have an exit strategy, and the exit strategy needs to be renting it out as a single let. So if you're buying an apartment to rent out a serviced accommodation, just have an exit strategy that says, if that doesn't work, and I end up just sticking somebody in it, a young couple, will I still make money? And if the answer is yes, then I don't think there's any reason why you shouldn't do that. So I hope that helps. Okay, next question from Trex Arm says, can you sell a house with a bridging loan against it? Just thinking about exit strategies, thanks, Alan. Alan, you can sell a property with a bridging loan against it. However, nearly every lender that provides bridging loans will require to have a charge on the property. Now, what that means is that when you come to sell it, you can't get any money from that property sale without first paying back the bridging lender. So let's say you own a property and you bought it for £100,000 and you've got bridging of £50,000, which is a loan, there'll be a charge on the property. You can sell the property, but only if there's enough money in the sale to pay back the bridging company. Otherwise, you will be liable for the shortfall. So the answer is yes, but just make sure that you can pay them back upon the sale. Before any money goes to you, it's going to go to all of the charges first. Okay, Darren. I found a plot of land with Japanese knotweed on it. The person selling the land has a quote of £60,000 to rid the land of it. The land itself is going for £265,000 and it has planning for 9 houses and the GDV is 2 million. Do you think it's worth my time? Any tips on raising the finance on such a project if you think it's worth it? Great question. So listen, I'm only going to be able to go with the information that you've given me. And of course, I can't say, yes, buy it, or no, don't buy it, without knowing more details. But from what you've told me, if you can buy it for 265 and it's going to cost 60 grand to get rid of the Japanese knotweed, that's basically the upfront acquisition costs. 9 houses. It all depends on how much it's going to cost to build the 9 houses. It sounds to me like there's quite a lot of profit there because £2 million gross development value. I can't answer it without knowing what the houses are, what the spec is, and how much it will be to build the houses. But definitely worth pursuing, and feel free to drop me a message on Instagram and maybe we can speak more. Great. Okay. Hi Samuel, can you give an example of how much an investment would be for beginners that say it's too expensive to do now? Example, rent-to-rent HMO. Okay, I think your question is, how much money do you need as an initial investment for beginners to get started? I think that's your question. I hope I've understood correctly. To answer that question, you don't need anything to get started. Or you might need, if you're the last guy that was talking about the piece of land, then you might need £250,000. Look, to get started in property, you can either set up a business like rent-to-rent, like you've said as an example, or deal packaging. If you're going to set up a business, you're not investing money in property. You're starting a business that is going to make money and generate profits using property as a vehicle. Now, if you're doing that, how much money do you need to start a business? Well, you don't need any money to start a business. You can, if you're creative, and you might say, but Samuel, you need money to set up company's house. There's £15 to set the company up. You need money to get the contracts, you need money, but you can, if it's a business, the whole purpose of a business and as an entrepreneur is that you've got to be creative and find win-win solutions and problem solve. For example, when I started my business, I started renting out people's rooms as a management company. I was a sole trader. I just said, I'll rent your rooms out for free. And I charged the tenants a £90 admin fee. It went to me. How much money? And then it grew. I just started growing and then started doing rent-to-rents and deal packaging. So you don't really need any money to start a business. You need a lot of other things. You need courage, knowledge. You need time, creativity. But you don't need money. So if you're wanting to get started in this business, in the business of property, you can, even £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 can go a long way when you know what you're doing and when you're prepared to put the time in. So I hope that helps, and I hope I've understood your question. Stunt Frenchy says, can I move up in house but keep my current one and rent it out? Do mainstream lenders typically do rent out and buy option? Or is it quite a niche process? And would a specialist mortgage broker be better? Stunt absolutely can. If you've got a house and you want to rent it out and then you want to move on and rent another one, you just need to get permission from your mortgage lender to rent it out. But typically they'll give you permission. If you just say to your mortgage lender, hey, I want to move out, but I can't sell it because I need to move out quickly. I don't want it to be empty. Do you mind giving me consent to rent it out? They'll usually say yes. It's really not complicated. It's very straightforward if I've understood what you're talking about. Bradley Taylor says, I'm looking to use the BRRR strategy for the first time with £70,000 to £100,000 capital to use. What would you recommend? I already own my own home and this will be as a limited company. So what would I recommend? Well, firstly, I would recommend finding an area where you're going to do this. So finding a patch. I would recommend speaking to estate agents and telling them what you're wanting to do. I would recommend, you basically, to do BRRR, you only need to be able to calculate 3 figures. You need to be able to calculate purchase price. So you need to be able to cheap properties. Number 2 is you need to be able to calculate how much it's going to cost to refurb them. And then number 3 is you need to know how much the GDV is going to be, the end value. Same as the guy that was asking me about the land. And I said to him, right, so you're buying the land for 265. The refurb, development cost, or to fix the Japanese knotweed, it's going to be 60 grand. I need to know how much it's going to cost to build the houses and then the GDV. It's just straightforward. If you're doing a small deal and you're starting with £70,000, or whether you're starting with £7 million and you're doing a big deal, you need to be able to calculate those 3 figures. So I would spend time educating yourself, reading books, finding other property investors and builders and building your network, speaking to estate agents, telling people what you're wanting to do. And I wish you all the best. Last question. Leo says, how do you secure a 0 deposit option and a 4-week rent-free from a vendor? Can you explain how I could negotiate with the vendor on the above such that I secure a rent-to-rent HMO deal? Thank you. Okay, so I think what you're saying is you're trying to get a rent-to-rent deal, but you want the owner of the property to give you to charge no deposit and to take no rent for 4 weeks. How do you do that? I'm guessing it's because you haven't got any money to put down, right? Which is fine. Congratulations for being creative. How you do it is, in business, it's a free market. We have a free market in the UK, which is a great thing. That means that as long as you have a willing buyer and a willing seller, we're all good, within reason. Some industries have got regulation to stop products being sold that are faulty or dangerous. But if you're trying to negotiate with a landlord, if the landlord's happy and you're happy, it's fine. So the question, rather than you saying, how can I get free rent? How can I get no deposit? What you've got to ask yourself is, what can I give the landlord that's going to be valuable and attractive to him? What can I do? How can I help? And when you find ways to add value in the marketplace, then suddenly when you help other people get what they want, as Zig Ziglar says, you get what you want. So to answer your question, I would be listing all the things, the benefits of your service to these landlords. So why would they want to give you free rent? Well, you could say, look, I will spend the first 4 weeks fixing all the skirting boards, cleaning it up, and I will for free, I will give the property a lift. I'll paint it and I'll bring it up to scratch. And then I'll put tenants in and I'll give you a guaranteed rent where you can live at peace and receive a passive income. But in exchange, I want a rent-free period for 4 weeks and I don't want to have to pay a deposit. What do you say? You see? So it's about thinking, how can you add value? It's the biggest tip I could give you in business. People that win in business, and that's why when people get annoyed at rich people. You know, a lot of people don't like rich people. Some people don't even like me. They get upset with me because I make a lot of money. You're stealing the houses off the poor people. We just did a tour of pub conversion with one of my students called Ryan, and people were so upset. Oh, you're stealing the pubs. It's like, no. The pubs are run down and they've been empty for years. And now the pub owners are saying we need to sell because this has been closed for years and it's falling to rack and ruin. And then an investor comes along and says, look, I'll buy it off you, and turns it into nice accommodation and provides more accommodation to the economy, bringing down the price of rents, because when there's more houses, it brings down the price of rents, which makes housing more affordable. It's a really good thing. But so many people are getting upset. You're stealing the pubs. You know, people really don't understand business. People that say they don't understand business, because business is about adding value. Willing seller, willing buyer, fair exchange. That's what business is. So I really hope that you become successful in business, because that means that you'll be boosting the economy. If you become a successful property investor, you become a successful property entrepreneur as a deal sourcer. Well, that means you're providing good deals for investors, which means that the investors are providing a good accommodation for the tenants. So the more you win, the more I win. And that is why I'm going to keep doing a video every single day. And that is why I'm going to keep helping you and answering your questions. So put your questions in the comment box. I'll answer next week. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. That's the first step. You want to be financially free in property? Subscribe to the channel on Samuel Leeds YouTube channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. All the best. God bless.